So again, thank you very much. My name is Mike Morreale. I'm from First Canadian Title, and we're a title insurance company that's national across the country. Our head office is based in Oakville, just off of Ford Drive, if anyone's familiar with that area. What my job is with First Canadian or FCT is to talk specifically to the broker and owner community. So a bit of an understanding on what First Canadian Title does. We are a title insurance company. We do a little bit more than just that. We were involved over 20 years ago starting our business, and I'll get into a bit of the history and kind of what we do. But we have quite a few arms to our company. Residential title insurance, which of course in Ontario especially is huge, across the country as well. Our commercial side of the business, which I'm involved with on the broker and owner side. On the client side, we also have our people on the lender side, the lawyer side, as well in the commercial space. And then we have our Lender's Advantage, which is what we call our LAD program, which is essentially dealing with all the large financial institutions on refinances, refinances of mortgages and what have you. And we have our managed mortgage solution sides and the debt recovery network, to name a few. So we're a lot more than just title insurance, and hence the change to FCT. So when I got involved with First Canadian, I was, prior to this, I spent some time at a company called Walton Capital Management, or Walton International. That was a private land banking company out of Calgary. Quite a big organization, over $1 billion worth of land assets across North America. And funny enough, they were a big user of FCT and their title insurance. I didn't know that at the time. I was on the sales side. So when I made the move over here, it was nice to be able to connect the dots and see what happened. So I had a bit of an understanding of the big owner space in terms of who was purchasing title insurance, what they were purchasing it for, and what have you. Also, in the mid-2000s, I did spend some time at Cushman Wakefield LePage. So I got a bit of an understanding of the brokerage side. I worked primarily in Southwest Ontario out of the Mississauga office, and was able to participate in some commercial deals, some office leasing, some industrial, some new building purchases. So it was an interesting opportunity for me to learn the business. All along, John mentioned I played football, so that obviously makes me a relative expert on everything. No, I played 12 years, 8 with Hamilton, Tiger Cats, and 4 with Toronto. So that was kind of my real job before I got into working at Walton or working here. But the broker connection through Cushman was something that led down the path of me being hired and looking after, obviously, the broker and owner space. So the broker and owner space in what I do on a regular title insurance transaction, and I don't know if anyone here, maybe show of hands, use title insurance. Usually like that, it's probably more, but it happens at the end of a transaction. So as you're going through your agreement of purchase and sales, and you're getting everything tied, and everything's good to go, and that gets passed on to the purchaser's lawyer or what have you, generally title insurance comes into play as they start searching title or off-title issues, and there's a decision to buy title insurance to protect either A, the lender, or B, the client, or C, all the above. So traditionally that takes place at the end of a transaction at time of close. What we're trying to do is, one, educate the owner, since the owner is the actual person, or the purchaser, the person that actually buys title insurance. And they buy it on behalf of the lender or through a lawyer at all times to protect either themselves or the lender. So how do we talk to these owner clients? The best way is talking through the broker community and educating the broker community so they can in turn educate the owners. In a real estate transaction, obviously it is the brokers and agents that talk about the deal at the outset, rather than waiting, how we traditionally do, till the very back end of the deal with the lawyer community. So this is what I do on a regular basis. I meet with A lot of the large brokerage firms across this country, a lot of the big capital markets firms or investment teams at the big banks, and then through them to some of the big real estate investment trusts, large owner groups, builders, developers, and what have you, to talk about title insurance. A lot of them have paid for title insurance. A lot of them have no idea what it does or what they're protected. So this is where we're trying to get the education aspect out, and starting with yourselves to set the bar a little bit higher, increase the due diligence that you do at the outset of a transaction to include some discussion on title insurance, because it probably will happen later on. I'll get into a bit of what the policies and how they're structured. And by the way, feel free to ask any questions as I go along as it relates to what we do. I will say one thing before we start. I'll answer a question that inevitably always gets asked, and maybe it's because I always follow environmental guy. We do not insure environmental issues. Happens quite often. I wish I could stand up here and say we do, because I get asked that 100% of the time by every broker agent that I meet. But unfortunately, it's something that we investigated, but at this point, it's obviously the risk versus reward is a little bit too far apart. So that's something we don't do, but we do a lot of great things. So when I talk to brokers, obviously there are issues that come up as it relates to deals. Either A, deals not getting completed. Obviously they don't happen often, but they do happen. People walking away at the last second. Deals getting extended, their time period. I think that happens more often than most of you like to see. There's a designated close date, and that gets pushed out, or issues come up and people go back and forth and stuff gets extended. And then at the end of the day, we would like all of you to get paid your commissions quicker, faster, and more securely. And what we're trying to do with title insurance is to close your deals on time, enhance your marketing packages and sell quicker, and I'll get into that, get paid quicker, and separate yourself from the next competitor in the marketplace by doing something a little bit different, adding another tool to the toolkit to identify yourselves as being ahead of the curve, let's say, when it comes to the marketplace. So why choose First Canadian Title? Well, we were first into the title insurance space over 20 years ago, one of the leaders in that space. Our current competitors would be Chicago Title, certainly on the larger side of things, Stewart Title on some commercial, predominantly residential, and Title Plus, which is a lawyer-based title insurance program. So it is predominant. On the residential side, we're probably up to about 98-99% of all residential deals get title insured in this country. On the commercial side, I can tell you it grows year over year over year. To give you an idea of some numbers we did to put in perspective, last year on a commercial side, we wrote up just under 12,000 policies for total combined insured value of $32 billion. So it's out there, it's prevalent. We're not the only ones doing it. We like to think we have the biggest share, but $32 billion is quite a bit of transaction volume, insured volume when you look at it. So it is happening, and it's happening quite often. We want the agents and brokers to realize that it's happening. We should know a little bit about it as long with our vendors or our clients. So we gave out our first commercial policy in '95. That fed, or fast forward to where we were last year, where we are this year. On the commercial side, we grow at a 20 to 30% clip year over year. It's big business. We're finding that the big lending institutions are certainly more and more on side on a regular basis. And often when you go to a bank to finance a purchase, or your client does, you'll be asked by the bank and some of their mortgage or finance instructions to A, get an up-to-date survey, B, get up-to-date survey and title insurance, or C, get title insurance from First Canadian Title or whoever that may be. So since that's happening, we're hoping that the broker community gets an idea of, well, this potential client or potential purchaser or my client down the road is going to experience title insurance from a loan perspective. We should talk to them a bit about what other policies are out there to protect the actual client. And I'll get into that in a bit. So as far as our reach, we are an international company. Our parent company is out of Santa Ana, California. that's First American title. Our commercial policies are underwritten here in Canada, but backed by the reserves of First American, which are well over $1 billion in reserves. We do have offices across the world and can help with any transaction in any country, and that's obviously important if you're dealing with international companies. I can also tell you that if you have an American company that's looking to purchase in Canada or already has buildings or properties in Canada they're looking to sell, they will 100% of the time insist on title insurance. The way that title insurance works in the United States is that's the only way it works and existed for well over 100 years. When you go to close a property, whether it's residential or commercial, they close it through title companies. They don't have real estate lawyers, as we do here. It'll be closed through a title company. And that kind of was the impetus for bringing title insurance to Canada, was to say, if this ever comes, one of the guys that brought it was the real estate. Why I better bring it here before it comes on its own. I'm out of the job. Now, of course, we don't want to take any lawyers out of work. In fact, they're our biggest supporters and advocates, as well as the lenders and institutions, all of them to work together on helping their clients and, in turn, our clients. We have, it says we know commercial real estate, and I guess the best way to let you know how we know it is that we are actively involved in a lot of major transactions. Talked a bit yesterday about the Rogers Center. I think we title insured 3 times. We title insured the Windsor to Detroit tunnel. So First American did from Detroit to Canada, and First Canadian did from Canada to Detroit. The Molson Center in Montreal, the Target deals, the leasehold deals, they're leaseholds of all the Zellers. We just finished our first half of those deals and are just finishing up the second half in the coming month. So that's big, of course, American institution coming in. And then if anyone's aware, or probably have heard of last year's transaction of the KingSett purchase of ING, well over $2 billion. We title insured all those properties, some 400 and change across the country. So it gives you an example of some of the things that we work on a regular basis. So what is title insurance? That's the definition there. It's a third statement of condition of title, real property at the time of policies issued. So on close, the insurance basically says that on close we're going to assure over the title, not only the on title but off title aspect of what is written, whose name is on the deed, what easements, encroachments, rights of way, super priority liens, work orders, various other off-title related matters, government response that could affect or be added onto title and could cause problems in the closing of deals. So it is non-traditional in terms of it's been around 20 years, which seems like a reasonable amount of time, but it's still not the way this country was built on closing transactions. It's becoming more and more prevalent. So traditionally, in closing of a real estate transaction, the purchaser's solicitor will form his opinion on title, and he'll write his solicitor's letter of opinion for that title of that property that's being purchased. That will go into the closing details, and now that purchaser has a solicitor's letter of opinion on title, and away we go. He deems it clean, or there's this issue, they're going to rectify it, and what have you. And on the day to close, that letter of opinion is given. That letter of opinion is great, but it doesn't have any insurance attached to it. So there are errors that come up on a regular basis, not by the fault necessarily of the legal community, but it could happen with errors in public records, the way it was moved from the land registry to land titles, delays in government response. They happen on a regular basis. If those events do happen in cloud title later on down the line, then the only way to really rectify that issue is to prove gross negligence on the lawyer. That's very rare, not something that happens quite often at all, and really you're left, or the purchaser's left, to try and salvage whatever issues have happened to correct the title problems that are at hand, and often it costs a lot of money, either to fix the issue or rectify it through the courts.